All right, welcome everybody to another edition of Paddle Reviews. Tonight we have a special guest with us, one Tyson McGuffin, a super young, super great young player, fantastic singles player. He's going to come on and talk about the Selkirk Maxima, the new amped model of the Maxima. But I think you guys need a little warming up first, so let's warm you guys up for Tyson, then we'll bring Tyson on. Let's get a little groove going here. Little Tom Petty groove. Let me run with you tonight. I'll take you on a moonlight ride. There's someone I used to see, but she don't give a damn for me. So then to get to the point, let's roll another joint. Turn the radio down too long to be proud. You don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels. No, you don't know how it feels to be me. That's right. You don't know how it feels to be Tyson McGuffin. Sorry. That is unless you've beaten Ben Johns and Kyle Yates on the same day, have you? If you haven't, you don't know how it feels to be Tyson McGuffin. Let's talk to the man himself and find out how it feels to be Tyson. Let's bring him on right now. Tyson should be joining us shortly. There he is.
Hey,
Hey Tyson, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
You look nice and relaxed. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yep.
All right. So, first of all, what should I call you? Tyson,
Tyson works.
son
Tyson
of
works.
Ty.
Yeah, my little son, his name's Ty. So, but I go by Ty or Tyson.
Okay, we'll go with Tyson.
Okay.
So Tyson is a recent silver medal winner at the Florida State Championship. I think that was with Morgan Evans, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
He also got a gold in singles at the Florida State Championship. A tough three-setter over one tough hombre, Kyle Yates. He also got a gold in singles at Nationals, beating Ben Johns and Kyle Yates. Silver at the Tournament of Champions. Look, he's so bored with all these awards.
Long day at work. Sorry.
It's so blasé to him. But silver at the Tournament of Champions, I guess, he lost to Ben Johns at that time. But so tell me, Tyson, how does it feel to be Tyson McGuffin these days? It must feel pretty good.
I mean, it's totally different, that's for sure. I have a lot of new Facebook messages. I got a lot of new emails, a lot of new text messages. I have a much bigger fan base, so I'm not gonna lie, it's a little overwhelming at times. I feel like I don't quite respond to everybody's emails or text messages or Facebook messages, but it's good. I mean, I'm trying to ride this dream and ride this journey for as long as I can. So I'm 28, and hopefully I can keep it going. I'm sure there's studs that are gonna be.
So you had an extensive tennis background, correct? I think you were at one time ranked in the top 5 in Washington State. Is that true?
Correct. Yes, I played 2 years of junior college tennis, and then played a bunch of open tournaments and stuff in Washington State. And yeah, I got to I believe like number 2 men's singles ranking, and then I was like top 5 in doubles. And I actually picked up tennis kind of late. I grew up as a big wrestler and started wrestling at like the age of 5, and then didn't pick up tennis till about 12 or 13. But just fell in love with the whole individual aspect of it, and how I didn't have to cut weight, or I didn't have to put on any knee pads or stinky singlets, or headgear, any of that. So it was totally different. I fell in love with it.
You switched from wrestling to pickleball purely for the hygiene aspect of it.
Yeah, correct.
So, but I mean that shows your competitive nature certainly comes out on the court. You can see it. You get fired up all the time. You know, you're always doing the fist pump. You don't like to lose, and I love your competitive spirit. So let's just talk about. You know, I know now you're using the Maxima. You're with Selkirk.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, you were with Selkirk. You were using the Epic, the Enrique Ruiz model.
Yep.
Is that
yep.
right?
So when it's funny when I first started playing my very first tournament, I had no idea what I was doing or what pickleball was about. I was about 2 months in. I played a tournament in Vancouver, Washington. It was indoors on a gym floor, and I was using the Venom paddle made by Pickleball Inc. Kind of funny, Chris Mills. I don't know if you know who Chris Mills is. He's a guy from Seattle. I actually played him in singles, and Chris is like he's a legend, man. He's been doing it forever. And I remember playing Chris, I don't know, second or third round, and I beat him with that paddle. And he told me to throw the paddle in the trash. So anyhow, I had no idea what I was doing. Played with that paddle for that tournament, and then switched over to the Epic. Signed a deal with Selkirk, and then that was in probably April of 2016. Yeah, 2016. And then by September of 2016. I switched over to the Maxima just because I was looking to get more aggressive. I was looking to do more with my serve. I thought I needed to have some added leverage at the kitchen line to be able to lean and reach and use my roll shots. So it worked out, and now I'm all about the long skinny paddle.
Nice. So a lot of people they use the traditional paddle like the Ruiz, like the Epic. What were some things you noticed right off the bat when you switch from a traditional shape to a shape like the Maxima? I mean, did you struggle with your blocking at all, like some people might?
Yes. Oh yeah. I had the toughest time dinking. I had the toughest time hitting third. The whole finesse aspect took me some time, and my blocking was, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't very good at all. And I actually got to a point when I was using the Maxima that I actually thought about going back to a bigger paddle or just a more squared off paddle, just because I felt like I was so limited and I could really only do a couple things. But all the viewers out there, just know that with that long skinny paddle, it just takes time. I would say it's the biggest transition, and you just kind of need to hang with it and kind of pay your dues. But I mean, once you start seeing the ball like a little bit bigger, once the game slows down a little bit, then it doesn't really matter if the paddle's skinny or big. You're always hitting the ball clean. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was a tough transition, and it was funny because probably like 3 or 4 months into using the Epic paddle, I actually tried like a long skinny paddle, and I hated it. And I didn't think I could ever play with it. And then a couple months down the road, tried it again, and it probably took me. I think I used it in September of 2016, and then the first tournament that I played with it was Nationals of 2016, which was that first week in November. So it took me about.
How did you do your first time out with the skinny paddle?
Took me about 2 months to get used to it, but I did very well. Yeah, I ended up losing to Daniel Moore in the age finals of singles, and then ended up losing to Marcin in the open finals of singles. So, but big thing is that I was able to swing away. It felt more like a tennis racket. I was able to use my wrist a bit better as well. I felt like I could roll the ball around a lot more. I could add more spin. And then from the kitchen line, it just allowed me to lean in a lot more and get some leverage and use the added length. I'm not going to lie, it definitely took some time.
Yeah, that's interesting for us rec players to hear that, because and the fact that you almost gave up on it was interesting, and now I bet they'd have to pry it out of your cold dead fingers.
Yes, correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you tried? What did you think of the new the Amped models when they came out?
Yeah.
Compared to the previous Maxima.
Well, Rob and Mike Barnes, it was kind of funny because I was so stuck on the old Maxima that they had to basically tear the paddle out of my hands to put the new hand paddle in there, because I was so set in stone. You know, I had done well at nationals. I was playing well with it. I felt like I didn't need to change anything. And it was funny because when I first started using the Amped paddle, I didn't feel like I got as much pop. I felt like I lost my serve a little bit. In my old Maxima, I played with it at 8.5 ounces. And then the Amped paddle, I just didn't feel like I was getting enough with 8.5. So I actually went up to 9 ounces. And I'm kind of a kook as well. I ended up, I still wasn't happy with it, and I was texting Rob and Mike left and right, being a big pain in the ass is what I was doing. And I felt like it was too soft. I felt like I couldn't get any pop. So they went like a 0.5 of an ounce heavier, so it went to 9 ounces. And they gave me a loose edge guard. And so with the loose edge guard, it kind of felt like I could feel the vibration, I could have more feel. So that was the big thing for me, was going a little bit heavier, and then going looser with the edge guard, so I could actually find more feel and like it wasn't so soft.
So do you actually add weight around the edge guard, like some lead tape?
Yeah, so I don't do it. They do it. I don't know how they go about it, but they know that I'm very picky, and those guys are awesome, man. I mean, they took care of me, and I was complaining left and right, and we finally got the paddle that worked, and so no, it's pretty cool.
So it's interesting that you like it so heavy. Oh, what happened? We lost Tyson. Tyson, I think you pressed something you shouldn't have. We'll bring you right back. Don't worry, buddy. Tyson, come back. There he is.
Sorry about that.
That was pretty funny, actually. So, yeah, it's interesting that you like such a heavy paddle, because the trend seems to be for lighter and lighter paddles. But what are the advantages you find of a heavy paddle? Is it just the easier power?
Yeah,
you know, coming from a tennis background, you know, tennis rackets are 11, 12 ounces. So is you trying to get closer to that?
Well, I mean, talking in tennis terms, my old tennis racket, I used to, I still use it. I just don't play much tennis. I just teach. But I play with the blade. That's about 11.4 ounces, 11.4. And
that thing could double it.
Yeah, and I actually played with strings that were strung at about 40 pounds. So it was super loose, and I never had a dampener. So I've always liked that like vibration, like that full feel like in my arm. And so yeah, switching over to like the new Amped, it was so funny because I felt like I couldn't feel anything. It was too soft, and I wanted that like vibration in my arm so I could feel it, right? I know to some people that sounds awful, but to me, it's like, you know, that's like a piece of heaven.
Yeah, most people are trying to reduce vibration.
Correct,
you're telling to increase the vibration.
Right. So anyhow, and then yeah, with going 9 ounces, I just felt like I had easy power. You know, like in singles, I felt like when I was on the dead run and I was, you know, sliding side to side, open stance, I was able to still get enough on my passing shots. So when I was out of position and like when I was stretched, I was still able to get some easy power. On the return, I mean, it makes a big difference too, because on the return, I felt like I can just like abbreviate my swing and keep it short, and still get a lot of easy power, and it keeps the ball deep. And then, I mean, and then the serve too, I mean, it's huge. I don't have to do as much on the serve, and the paddle just kind of takes over. And just with going a little bit heavier, I'm able to get the ball a little bit deeper. I'm able to put a bit more spin on the ball. So I guess just in all areas, I just like the easy power aspect.
Yeah. Do you find that a lot of transitioning tennis players would be good with a paddle like the Maxima, because it seems to be one of the most similar to a tennis racket, you know, of any paddle out there. So yeah. Do you recommend that to a lot of your tennis students that are trying out pickleball for the first time?
I do to students that are 4.0 plus and above. I would not recommend like a 3.0, 2.5, I don't know, 3.5 tennis player to a long skinny paddle.
It does take a certain level of skill.
Correct. Yep. Correct. And I think just because it takes such a long time to transition to how long or how skinny that paddle is, and how the hitting zone is like a little limited. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're a tennis player and like you're seeing the ball well, and you're playing 4-4-5 tennis, like you're playing, you know, high level, then yes, definitely. But
so if somebody has that good hand-eye coordination to where, you know, as a tennis player, they're hardly ever framing the ball. It all comes down to, you know, if you can center the paddle, you can hit the sweet spot. Just like in tennis, you know, they have oversized rackets, and then they have the 90 square inch old Federer model. I think they even went down to 80 something at one point.
right.
But you know, everything's got its pros and cons. So for you, you find that the long, skinny paddle, the pros far outweigh the cons.
Correct. Yep. Yep. And I think those cons just come in early on when you're trying to get used to it, and you're trying to see the ball well, and you're trying to place the ball in the middle of the paddle with the limited hitting zone. You know, so
the negatives kind of go away in time, and it'll just be all gravy.
correct. Yep. Yep. Correct.
So do you ever consider using a different paddle for doubles, since doubles is such a different game? I mean, do you consider yourself more of a singles specialist type of player? Is that really where you love to play, is in singles?
Well, I mean, I would love to say that I'm at the top of the game in doubles too, but you know, I haven't quite won any big events yet or big tournaments. Yeah, I would definitely say singles is my forte. You know, I've done well in doubles. You know, Matt Goebel and I this year ended up taking 5th at the U.S. Open. We took 4th at TOC. I mean, there's so many stinking tournaments this year that we were like a match or two away from being, you know, top 3. You know, I think we're right there. I think you know, the overall teams that could win a doubles tournament is probably anywhere from like, there's probably 8 or 9 teams that could potentially win. In singles, usually you have a pretty good guess that there's going to be 3 or 4 guys that are going to, you know, end up in the top 3, top 4, whatever. Yeah, I would definitely say singles is my forte. You know, I love playing doubles. It's funny because when I first started playing, when I was using the Epic, I hated doubles. I didn't know how to dink. I was, you know, playing like a typical tennis player. I was speeding the ball up anytime I was panicked. So yeah, it just kind of took some time to, and I think that's the big thing too. Like as a tennis player, is that like dinking and dropping the ball soft and dropping thirds and just understanding the whole idea of doubles takes time. As a tennis player coming in, I'm pretty sure it's an easy transition to pickleball singles.
It seems the ex-tennis player goes through the same cycle, and I see it all the time where they come in, they have great ground strokes, they're speeding the ball up, and finally they reach a point where their hard, fast shots are coming back at them because they're starting to play better players now. They've run through the 3-0s, the 3-5s, right, and now they figure out they've got to learn the soft game. Right. So I'm sure you went through all that same stuff. So are you working more now on your doubles game since your singles game seems to be where you want it?
Yeah, I mean.
Or are you still focusing on both?
Yeah. I mean, as much as I would like to say that I'm training a lot, I'm not going to lie, I'm really not. I'm so busy with my new job. But yes, I mean, the idea is to work more towards doubles and doing a lot of drilling and working on all the gray areas that I've seen in the past. I just moved to Hayden, Idaho, so Matt Goebel, my doubles partner for 2018. I'm going to play with Matt, and I'm also going to play with Morgan as well. Lives in Spokane, so he's about 40 minutes away. So if I can get him out to play some singles, I would love to, but I'm not going to lie. He solely likes to focus.
Is it hard to play singles with on a level such as you play?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I have, you know, there's this new tennis player. He's like a 5'5" tennis player. Just graduated from D1 school in Spokane, played D1 tennis. So I'm trying to get him out to play a little bit. But yeah, I mean, most people think that you're crazy to play singles and to play, you know, 3 hours of singles at once. And that's what I like doing. I like to go out there and just kill myself, you know. But most people really don't have that mindset. So I mean, you know, I'm definitely working on both. I mean, the goal this year is to be on top of the world and singles and in doubles, you know, and to produce some some good results in both.
So the Maxima works for both your singles and doubles games.
Yes, yeah, and I
the
thought about changing paddles a little bit for doubles. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. So at the U.S. Open last year, I felt like my dinking and my blocking was like suffering because of the paddle, and it was more so my blocking. And it was so funny. I came back from Naples, and I was talking to Rob and Mike Barnes, and I was throwing them the excuse that it was the paddle, it wasn't my blocking, all the stuff, right? All the excuses and all that. And then I started watching a bunch of videos, and I started watching Kyle and Wes and just a couple of the guys. And so, I mean, I soon found out that I was blocking from the kitchen line. I wasn't giving myself any time to block. And it was funny that, like, I felt like when I was at the kitchen line and I was blocking, I was seeing the ball so small, and things were just happening so fast, I was panicking. And then right after that tournament, I watched a bunch of videos, and then from then on, I've been backing up a little bit and giving myself a bit more time to block, and it's been a game changer. I'm able to see the ball a lot bigger. The game seems a little slower. You know, like when I feel like I hit a good non-attackable block, I can work my way back in and reposition back on the kitchen line. So no, I love the paddle, and I would use it for both, and I would strongly encourage anybody using the paddle to use it for both singles and doubles as well.
Yeah, that seems to be the school of thought amongst most pros. You don't really see many, especially guys that play a lot of singles. You don't really see them using two different paddles.
Yeah.
I think if you play mostly doubles and every now and then you play a singles match here and there, I think it's okay to use something that helps you with singles. But if you're serious about both, I think it's best to stay with the same paddle, just so you retain that feel with it and you're familiar with it.
Right.
What do you think about the whole ball controversy here?
It's a pain in the ass.
You know, it is. I think I just would like to quickly get your opinion on it. The whole thing where the pros are using one ball, everybody else is using another ball. Some people are using a different ball. You got the indoor ball, you got the outdoor ball, which that kind of makes sense. But some people are thinking that the ball technology is going to start to catch up with the paddle technology. And we're not going to have these problems with ball issues anymore. What do you think about that?
I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Dura 40. Obviously, most pros are. You know, and I teach so many beginners and stuff here in Hayden. And my theory is, hey, if you can get comfortable with that ball at a 2.5 level, the game's only going to get easier, right? I mean, it takes a certain skill set. It takes a certain, sorry about that. I mean, I think phone calls. I think everybody should be using that ball because, I mean, it's only gonna elevate your game, right? I mean, yes, it's difficult to play with, and it gets egg shaped and it cracks and it moves around, and sometimes it doesn't bounce. But I mean, I think in the long run, if you can get used to that ball early on, the game's only going to get easier. You know, I mean, and also I think from like a technical standpoint, when you can teach beginners to use that ball, it's only going to improve their technique. When the beginners get used to like using the indoor jugs ball, and they can get away with like, you know, nonchalant technique, it's just creating bad habits. I mean, you can't have crummy technique with that Dura ball, right? It takes a certain skill set. It takes good technique. It takes clean technique to be able to play with that ball. So, I mean, I'm a huge believer with that ball.
I totally agree with you, and I'm far from being a professional, but I definitely enjoy the game more with the Dura ball, and I don't see any reason why we need to dumb it down for everybody else.
Right.
I think you know, in tennis they have like those balls for kids. They don't bounce so much while they're learning. But even once you get to the 3-0 level of tennis, you're using the same ball that the pros are using.
Oh yeah, and, exactly. Totally. That's
really,
a great analogy. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't like that we do that in pickleball, and I love the game so much. I'll play with whatever ball they throw me. I'll play with a ping pong ball.
Right.
But It's interesting. I was just interested in your thoughts on that. So what do you think? You think that long skinny paddles are going to gain popularity in the future, or you think they're just going to remain kind of a niche paddle just for certain players?
Yeah, I know.
Or do you think it'll start to grow in popularity?
Yeah, I think there's a huge wave of tennis players coming in like the next 5 years. So no, I think that paddle is going to get much more popular with tennis players coming in, with racket sport players coming in, just in general. I don't see too many raw pickleball players with no racket sport background using that paddle. And I mean, from what it seems like on the pro tour, we're seeing just a wave of racquetball players coming in, and badminton players, and squash, and ping pong, and all that stuff. So I mean, it would make sense for tennis players and those racket sport background players to be using a long skinny paddle. But I mean, hey, whatever floats your boat. I mean, there's so many good paddles out there too.
Yeah. Are you a paddle geek, so to speak? Do you like to trot, or you find the one that you like the best and you just stick with that and work on your game?
I am so stupidly picky. Yeah, I have to have.
So once you get it right, you don't want to mess with it, right?
No, yeah, and I mean that's the thing. Like when the new Amped paddle came out, I was like, "There's no way in heck I'm going to be using that paddle. I'm going to stick with what got me successful last year. I'm not going to change it around." And I mean, honestly, it took about a 2-month or a 3-month span of me talking to Rob and Mike, and us changing things and trying to figure it out. Luckily, I'm in Hayden because I can go to their warehouse, and it's about 2 minutes from my house, so I can go bug them whenever.
Lucky for you, unlucky for those guys.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, they're putting out a great product now. I think Selkirk is on the cutting edge. I think they're really onto something with this, this new thicker paddle that they've got all the models with now. I don't know anybody that tries out these new Amped paddles that doesn't like them. I mean, there's a few, weirdos that don't like it.
Right.
But for the most part, I mean, I hand out a lot of demos where I played, and I would say 90% of the people that try the Epic or they try the S2, they end up, where can I get one of these? I love it.
Right.
So I think, and thanks a lot to Mike Barnes for sending me these paddles to try out and to try to spread the word how good they are. Is there anything else that you would like to mention? Maybe something you have going on in the future? I know you got the US Open coming up. You got anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I mean, a couple of things. I think that Amped paddle was a huge story to me. Winning the nationals this year. Obviously, Morgan Evans as my coach played a huge part as well. But I think the mixture with the paddle and Morgan. I used to be so one-dimensional with the old Maxima, and even like with the Amped paddle for like the longest time, I was one-dimensional. Like when I played singles, and it was all about serving hard and being aggressive off the first ball and just playing bang bang pickleball. And I just didn't think of playing soft and dropping thirds and adding all this variety in the singles. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that the old Maxima was very stiff. And I felt like I wasn't able to dink that well. I felt like I wasn't able to drop thirds that well. And I had a hard time on the run, like rolling balls soft and cross court. With the new Amped paddle, I mean, it was a game changer. I mean, and it was a huge reason why I felt like I won nationals. I mean, for like one of the first times that I played Ben, or I mean, not like one of the first times, but in that finals against Ben, I totally changed up my game plan, and it was highly due to Morgan, and then also too, I mean, the ability to soften the ball up with the new Amped paddle, the ability to just add variety in with the new Amped paddle, just let me slow the ball down. It gave me a much rounder picture to work with. The old Maxima, it was kind of one way or the highway, and it was one dimensional. And if I wasn't going to hit through you, then I mean that was the game plan. So I mean, I kind of have a fun. Go ahead.
Sounds like the new Amped paddles just added a lot of versatility to your game.
Yeah. And I have a really funny story about Morgan. So kind of how we got this thing going. It was at the U.S. Open last year. It was kind of funny because I was playing Ben Johns, and nobody even knew about Ben Johns. And it was my first time being the #1 seed of a tournament. It was at the U.S. Open. And it was my first big tournament with not seeing Marcin's name in the bracket. So I'm like, shoot, man, this is great. I don't have to play the Polish monster that's 6'4" that scares the living hell out of me. And I remember,
Gary did.
yeah, and I remember playing Ben. I think it was like the quarterfinals, and he ended up beating me. But I remember I had won the first game like 11-4. I think I was up in the second game 6-2, and then all of a sudden Ben like totally switched his game plan. He started playing soft. Like at first he was trying to drive through me, and I think he recognized that my hands were too good, and he was being like a little predictable. So I was able to push him side to side. So he slowed it down and started dinking and started dropping thirds and plays like how he's playing now. And all of a sudden, I mean, like a fire got lit, and he came roaring back, beat me, I don't know, 8-11 or 11-8 in that second game. And then I remember in the third game, I was down 6-2, and it was blistering hot that day. And for some reason, I didn't even know Morgan that well. He was behind the fence, and he was watching me play. And I remember I took a timeout, and I was just drenched with sweat. I mean, you know, I sweat like a machine anyhow. But I was in Naples. It was about, 85% humidity, and it was nice and hot. I remember I took a timeout, and I had my shirts and my bag like behind the fence, and Morgan was back there, and I asked him to grab a shirt or something like that. Anyhow, he came out on the court, and he's like, Tyson, he's like, Ben's a boy, and he's like, you're a machine. He's like, something like, get it done or something like that. And I just thought it was just so random. Like, he just came out, gave me a shirt, gave me some advice, and ended up losing the match to Ben, to the boy, and the boy ended up winning the U.S. Open. And then I ended up playing Ben again at Canadian Nationals, and I remember I had match points, and I don't know if Ben knows this, but I was up 10-6 in game 3, and I had a ball that was up high, and I took it as a swing and volley, and I was about a foot inside the I was about a foot inside the baseline, and I was taking a ball shoulder height inside, like a foot inside the baseline, and the ball was clearly going out, and I ended up hitting it, and then from that moment on, I ended up losing the match. And I believe that in the game to 15, because I beat him in the winner's bracket final, in the game to 15, I was up like 11-5. Same thing, ended up blowing it as well. So anyhow, I felt like I had this reoccurring pattern with Ben where I was up, I would have match points, and I would just blow it. So I just got to the point where like I felt like I was lost. I didn't have a game plan. I lost some confidence. And I remember after Canadian Nationals, I came home and I was just pissed off. And I remember messaging Morgan on Facebook, and I was like, hey, is there any way that you could coach me? And at the time, he probably didn't think much of it. And
it's like you needed a pickleball shrink.
I needed somebody to freaking dial this in because I was lost. I was lost, and and Ben was so far inside my head. He was like he was jamming a fork in my eye. And so we started talking all of July. We talked about a different game plan. He watched some video and kind of gave me some details. And then our first tournament together. I remember it was the Ben PPF in Oregon, and ended up beating Ben in the winner's bracket final, and I ended up beating Ben in the finals as well. And Morgan was in my corner the whole time, and I loved it, man. Like, he's such a good guy. He's super knowledgeable, and we had the same sort of personality, Like, I think we see the game fairly well. We're both goofy in our own ways. We're a little bit perverted as well. So we just kind of had this cool chemistry, and then from then on, like I go ahead.
When you beat Ben in Nationals, was that like the first time that you beat him since those times he's got you? Was that where it kind of turned?
Correct.
The tide kind of turned for you?
Yeah, I beat Ben in the Ben final, and then I remember same thing at TOC. TOC, I think I was up.
That was where you lost him.
Yeah. TOC, I was up. I think like I can't remember. I think I was up like 13-12 in the game to 15. And I don't know if you watched that match live stream, but yeah, I ended up puking on the court and going into full body cramps. And then ended up losing that match like 13-15. And that was kind of like a reoccurring theme all year. Like I would end up cramping in like big moments against Ben, against Ben, and I think it was highly due to I would get way too amped up, and Morgan knows this because he totally dialed me in. I would get way too fired up. I would lose all my energy, and I would get super anxious. And I think just with all the anxiety and stuff, it was like something just grabbing a hold of me, and so I ended up cramping a ton, and like a lot of those final matches against Ben. And so some of the adjustments that Morgan made was, he told me to calm down. He told me not to get so amped up, and told me just to kind of play, not like Federer, but kind of have that just low key emotion and only positive, and not get too high, because I would get very high and then I would crash.
Right.
So if I kind of kept,
like a roller coaster.
Yeah, totally. And then I kind of have a funny story as well. So I remember losing to Ben in the age finals of nationals, and it was funny because I hired Morgan on in the middle of July, and I played the exact same from the middle of July till the very last day of nationals. I played the exact same. I played stubborn. I played one-dimensional, and I didn't listen to a single thing that Morgan said, right? And it was tough because I was so successful last year. I had the hardest time trusting this new guy coming in, this Australian goofball that was trying to tell me to do different things. And I mean, I listened and I changed some things, but I was still so stuck in my ways and just being a stubborn, just being very stubborn about it. And I remember after I lost to Ben in the age final, Morgan afterwards, he's like, "Hey, you stubborn asshole." He's like, "Are you going to listen to me or not?" So it was kind of funny, like that. It really hit me, like him calling me an a-hole and then saying, "Hey, quit being stubborn." It was like a slap in the face, right? And so I remember like that was on a Wednesday, and I remember I waking up Thursday and I just felt so guilty, and like I didn't even want to talk to Morgan. It was like we had this weird kind of falling out, but it was just he was being honest, and like I needed it. I needed to hear it, and I remember I played a day of men's doubles on Friday. I played a day of mixed on Saturday. And I remember Saturday night, I sent him a Facebook message, and I was like, "Hey, I think I'm going to change it up." And woke up Sunday morning, and all day long, I played. I played with variety. I didn't get to a beat. I even moved my serve around. I didn't always serve hard. I ended up looping some serves in, used some variety, and I didn't lose a game all day long. And it was highly due to me changing up my game plan, me doing different things, me not being so predictable. And it was so funny because I didn't ever think that I could beat Ben with his own game, and which was playing up the kitchen line and dinking and playing soft. I didn't think I could beat him in that cat and mouse game. And Morgan just opened up my eyes. So, I mean, I give that guy all the credit.
That's awesome stuff there. And it's a lot of stuff for people to learn out there about, not being stubborn, being open to having somebody give you some advice. And, a lot of times it's hard to see what's going on because you're so close to the action.
Oh man, it is like nearly impossible to see when you're on the court. And it's, I suspect in like the next year or two, there's going to be, this is going to kind of change the game. There's going to be a lot of people helping out on the sidelines. Maybe they're not getting paid. Maybe they are getting paid. I made sure to take care of Morgan for all of his help and stuff like that. That was the game plan early on. But now we're kind of at this point where we found all this chemistry with him coaching me. So now we're starting to play more doubles together, and we're finding a lot more chemistry in doubles. So, it totally opened up my eyes. So pretty cool.
Well, Tyson, you're just so full of information and stories. We might have to do a part 2 of this. But I really appreciate you spending time talking about the paddle and about just pickleball in general. I hope our viewers, we had at one point, we had close to 50 people on. Maybe all the East Coast people went to sleep. But this was, this was for the West Coast people. This was like a UFC pay-per-view tonight.
That's right.
We did a late night West Coast. So I hope you West Coast people enjoyed it. I certainly did. I'd like to just remind people. Oh, do you want to mention the thing that we talked about as far as
So viewers out there, Pickleball World, be looking for the Tyson McGuffin signature paddle coming out here soon. Not going to talk any more about it, but be looking for it. It's going to be pretty cool, pretty sweet. It's in the making right now. So fun stuff.
It's going to be 15 ounces.
Yeah, it's going to be about 20 ounces, baby.
You won't have to swing it at all. You'll just stand there like this at the kitchen line, and the balls will just fly off of it.
Yeah.
I'd like to remind people to go check out my website. It's www.pickleballpaddlereviews.net. And if you're going to buy any of these great Selkirk Amped paddles, please use my code, which is Jack10. It'll get you a free gift along with your paddle. And I guess that wraps it up. We'll thanks again, Tyson. I hope you had fun. I really enjoyed speaking with you. And good luck in the future. And I hope everything continues to go smoothly between you and your coach there. And we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks again, Jack.
Take care.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it.